Well, as far as the Official Secrets Act is concerned, the Act is also a colonial remnant, and a perusal of the Act suggests that the Act was promulgated to assert the colonial power's control in the subcontinent. Now, we have recently seen that in the last few years, the Supreme Court of India and courts throughout Pakistan have often deprecated the application and perhaps the draconian application of certain colonial laws. We recently saw that the Lahore High Court, for example, struck down the sections in the Pakistan Penal Code that pertain to sedition and held that such laws were unconstitutional, they were untenable, and that such laws were a colonial remnant. Recently, we have also seen that the Sindh High Court, Justice Yusuf Ali Said of the Sindh High Court, also highlighted that the Police Act, which was still in vogue in the province of Sindh, was also a colonial remnant and was perhaps also an instrument of the colonial power to coerce the citizens into submission. If we look at the Official Secrets Act, the Official Secrets Act is similar because the underlying interest of the Official Secrets Act appears to be to control the subjects of the colony and to ensure that there is no challenge to the colonial power's rule in the subcontinent. Now, after independence, both India and Pakistan retained the Official Secrets Act, and given the traction that the Official Secrets Act has recently acquired and given the interest that the law has recently acquired, it becomes important to delve into the provisions of the Official Secrets Act of 1924. Now, there are two important facets of the Official Secrets Act. The first one pertains to spies and acts of espionage. So, for example, people who are committing acts of espionage or are abetting those who have committed acts of espionage and spying, there are certain penalties for such persons. But the other aspect of the law, which perhaps has acquired renewed interest, is also of utmost importance. The second aspect of the Official Secrets Act pertains to willful communication or wrongful communication. So, the second aspect of the Official Secret Act penalizes the willful communication of any important document or any important information with a foreign power. It also penalizes communicating any information to any power or any person that is used in a manner which is prejudicial to Pakistan's security. It also penalizes retaining any sensitive information after a person is no longer authorized by law to retain such information. And most importantly, it also penalizes failing or failure to take reasonable care of a document or information that is entrusted to you while you're in power. So, for example, if a person has been entrusted with certain information, and if that person retains that information even after he no longer holds the office or the position which had empowered him to hold or come into the knowledge of such information, then those acts are also penalized. Similarly, if somebody, for example, has been entrusted with a certain secret code or a certain document and fails to take reasonable care of such document, misplaces that document, that has also been penalized by the Official Secrets Act. Now, while talking about the Official Secrets Act, we would be remiss if we do not discuss the recent amendments which have been made in the Official Secrets Act. Now, we have seen that the Parliament has yesterday surreptitiously passed certain amendments in the Official Secrets Act which gave sweeping powers to the law enforcement agencies. So, for example, after the passage of such amendments, the definition of alien and the definition of enemy and the definition of a document has been expanded. Now, while some of these expansions or while some of these amendments may perhaps be understandable, because in this day and age, the word document has a wider connotation. A document, for example, may be a document that is in electronic form. So perhaps that definition does not come as a surprise. That amendment does not come as a surprise. But the fact that other aspects of the law have also been expanded. So, for example, the fact that the definition of the word enemy has also been expanded suggests that certain sweeping powers have been given to the law enforcement agencies who are acting under the law. So, one particular example is that there were certain powers which were vested in the law enforcement agencies under the original act, which could have only been invoked in wartime. But now these amendments also empower the law enforcement agencies to exercise such powers during peacetime. Now, throughout the world, there are different powers which law enforcement agencies are vested with in times of war, and there are different powers which they can exercise in times of peace. So, for example, throughout the world, in act where there's an international armed conflict or where there's a non-international armed conflict, every time a country is in a situation of an armed conflict, the laws of international humanitarian laws apply. Ordinary human rights perhaps may not apply to certain individuals who are engaged in hostilities or in an armed conflict with the state. But such draconian powers or such sweeping powers cannot be vested in law enforcement agencies in peacetime. But nonetheless, the fact that law enforcement agencies have been allowed to exercise powers that were previously only vested in them in wartime should raise a number of concerns. And this perhaps also raises concerns about whether or not such amendments are consistent with our constitutional framework. The other issue is that the provisions of the Official Secrets Act which pertain to attack on military installations have also been expanded. So while the underlying purpose of the Official Secrets Act was to preserve certain state secrets, but now any attack on a military installation, whether or not that has any nexus with taking official secrets or with committing espionage or spying or getting in possession of certain secrets and then communicating those secrets to other foreign powers. Now, whether or not an attack has nexus with such issues, any attack on a military installation would now be punishable under the Official Secrets Act. So, questions may also be raised if these amendments are in keeping with the purpose of the Official Secrets Act. Because as we discussed earlier, the Official Secrets Act was promulgated to protect certain state secrets. So a question arises is that are all attacks on defense installations an attempt to come in possession of certain official secrets and then communicate such secrets to somebody else? So I think in the days to come we may see that the constitutionality of the official secrets of these amendments may perhaps be challenged before the courts, and I think this will make for an interesting legal challenge, and perhaps our national discourse about the Official Secrets Act is far from over. Official Secrets Act, the constitutionality of these amendments is perhaps likely to dominate our national discourse and is perhaps likely to engender certain passionate debate in the days to come.